Right. I'm sorry. I was so tired after my trip. I just could not wake up. Hmm. Yeah, I just did it yesterday too for a different theme, so it should work. Mhm. It is. Mhm. There's also a really good tutorial from Brian, actually, that we wouldn't be able to watch it on you on the stream, but it's a YouTube tutorial. But he literally walks through exactly how to use a block extension, and he goes through things that are not in this documentation that you kind of need to know. Correct. So in the chat though, they're saying that your audio, John, is missing, so they can hear us.
See, it does help if I turn my mic volume up, doesn't it? There
That
we
would make
go.
sense.
So this is a lesson in streaming, folks. Don't use your OBS setup to randomly record some desktop audio the day before, because then you break things.
Excellent.
Thank you everybody for reminding me that I'm an idiot.
We should rename this Life Lessons with Jonathan.
You know what? You
Yes.
know my biggest problem is I tend to reuse things for other things. So I have this live stream set up and it records my desktop audio automatically. So it's just the easiest thing to do if I want to record some audio for something else. And then yesterday I was working from home with a different microphone setup. So when I did that, well, not a different not a different microphone setup, a different desktop audio setup. So when I did that, it didn't work. So I fiddled with things and broke everything, and then sat here today trying to remember how everything fits back together. So, yeah, I don't do this live streaming thing very well, folks. I apologize. Um, okay, so block extensions. So Aruba, can you give us the TLDR of how we use this?
Yeah, so basically you do install that package 10up/block components, which then gives you access to this function hook
Okay.
thing called register block extension. And the really nice thing about this is that in the core, you have to register what the output's going to be separately from what the editor UI is going to look like. And this lets you do it all in one go. So it's a lot less code to accomplish the same thing.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but there should be, if you scroll down, there is a code block that kind of just shows you exactly. So if we look at this, essentially you have your block edit function that you create in which you put in the for example, the settings, like you might want to add a toggle or something like that in the block sidebar. And then you have, for example, a lot of the times people will use this to add a class to the block.
Okay.
And that class is what that you style in order to make that change happen. Right.
Got it.
So then you can register that class and say, hey, this is the class I want added, and this is the setting that's connected to it. And then behind the scenes, block extension will go in and register it all correctly with the editor.
Okay.
So if you didn't use block extension, it's like, I think it's like 40, 50 lines of code.
Okay. So then what that means is first step is we need to get this thing set up to be able to use those packages.
Correct.
Because currently it's not going to be doing that. So that's going to be switching to the terminal and running some commands. So let me see if I can get there. Which one is this? I'm working in WordPress. Big content, themes. Okay, and then it's going to be npm init. Aruba, stop me if anything is wrong here, but I'm trying to remember my things. Okay, we'll just call it Sendig version 1. That's fine. Sendig.
Yeah, I guess you haven't actually needed to add any build tools yet.
No. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm not going to worry about that for now. It should be GPL. This is about the only thing that I remember when I'm setting up a package is the license. Okay. Oh, right. GPL to only. Oh. Okay, that's changed. Interesting. All right. 2.0. Make it only for now. Fine. Okay. And then we're going to need to... Now, I wanted to... Do they actually talk about setting this up in this...
No, I mean, there's not much to add the actual setup. The only thing I'm thinking about is I have never personally used it without WP scripts.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's see.
So...
Looks like we might just be able to run this. And I think npm will install anything else we might need.
Well, it'll install this package, but once you have this package, I don't think I've ever tested whether it'll just work in raw JavaScript, but we can try it. I'm not sure.
Let's see what it does. I'm always a big fan of just trying things and seeing.
Yeah.
Mainly because if somebody was trying this, they would get stuck, if they needed to install something else. So I'm going to see. I've got a feeling that it might install WP scripts along with it. I don't know.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Because
okay.
10up actually doesn't use WP scripts, right? They have their 10up toolkit, which does the things that WP script does plus other things. So it's a standalone. What do you call it? Standalone package.
Package, right?
That you then would have with a compiler. I think typically.
Okay, so then we probably need to install WP scripts as well. Then.
I think so. Yes, we should do that.
Let's do that. All right.
So for those of you listening, WP scripts is the open source sort of package that allows you to compile modern JavaScript into readable by the browser JavaScript, and does a lot of other fun things like include any SCSS styles or anything else you want to connect to a block or to JavaScript that you might be adding to the block editor. It's primarily used for creating custom blocks, but it can be finagled into using for a lot of other things if you want, because it is essentially just Webpack, which is a JavaScript and styles bundler, and that's what it's running behind the scenes with some extra special WordPress goodies.
And right now, all the people who don't want to have to install npm are going.
Yeah, pretty much.
I did my talk at WordCamp while this is installing. I did my talk at WordCamp Europe specifically about building blocks without using all of this. And I think I might have mentioned this in the live stream, but the goal of the talk was actually to say, yes, you can, but you shouldn't. And the one piece of feedback that I received from that talk was a really nice talk. It was interesting to see how to do it, but it felt a bit weird that the goal of the talk was to convince us not to do it. Which, fair enough. I did expect that.
I mean, I get it. A lot of the times we don't want to add dependency to our project unless it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
And if you see what it takes to do something without dependencies, and then if adding a dependency makes your life by at least 50% even, maybe 10%, 20% easier, then I think that's the thing to try. So
Absolutely.
I think your point makes sense.
For me, it's all about just ease of use. I mean, a simple thing like when you're building blocks using vanilla JavaScript, you have to manually tell the plugin which libraries or which dependencies that are loaded when WordPress loads you want to use. So you have to go into a file and you have to update an array with one line, and you want to say, right, now I want to use the block editor dependencies, or now I want to use this one, I want to use that, the translation stuff or whatever. And I just find just that one line is such a schlep when I can just say imports it in my code, and then Webpack or WordPress scripts will build it all for me. I'm like, why can't we just go the easy route?
Yeah, I think that the one thing is that NPM and Webpack and all of these things, they require a little bit of maintenance, and TLC, and build tools are infamous for breaking on you in random ways because the version of this one updated, but this one didn't update to reflect the new version, and this is going to change with this OS, and oh my god, now I need to reinstall Xcode tools. What is happening with my life? I have been through that many times.
The Xcode. Sorry, Emily, we're rambling here, but the Xcode tool things made me laugh because since switching to Mac, whenever I have to update Xcode tools, I want to scream.
I feel like this is kind of a hurdle for someone like me, who's more of the front end and learning how to build websites back in the 90s. Like we didn't have any of this kind of tooling, so it's a challenge to find time to learn like this new stuff along with everything else.
Yes.
Well,
and then not being able to know how to fix it if it doesn't work. So
for what it's worth, and I don't mind sharing this because it's my live stream and I can, but I'm working on a whole bunch of tutorials around sort of these base tooling things. So the first one is specifically just setting up Node.js and NPM. I was actually, as a side note, I was working on let me just find it here quickly. And this is so funny, exactly what Aruba was talking about now. So there's this PHP sniffer and beautifier extension for VS Code that I use. And the original developer indicated that he switched from PHP and now works on .NET. And I started having trouble with the extension for some reason. It stopped working and I couldn't figure out why. So I went and did some research and I found the development instructions. And it talks about running it inside of Visual Code Studio, hitting debug, and then it'll do the Webpack build and everything else because it's all just JavaScript. And the first thing that I hit was the fact that the last time this was built was 6 months ago, whenever the person wrote this code, and they were using, I think, Node version 16 at the time, and I was running in version 18, so there were version issues. And then there was also some recent like SSL vulnerability that was reported and fixed, so you were forced to upgrade certain things. So I went down a massive rabbit hole, exactly what Ruby just described, and I discovered a beautiful thing called, I think it was NPM Updater, which was it NPM Update? I can't remember now, but it was basically one package that you install, and it then checks every version. I'm going to see if I can find it. It was
and updates it all.
It just does the update for you. I should see if I can find it quickly. It wasn't update. Check NPM check updates. It's called. And this thing was great because it just basically. Let me see if I can find the package here if folks want to find it out. It checked through my whole package.json. It checked what needed to be updated. You could then run the updater from here. It even has an NCU, like a simple command to run. So yeah, this saved me a lot of time over the weekend. But yeah, everything you were describing, that's exactly what I was going through.
Yeah, even for someone who's been dealing with these conflicts forever, all of us, I think we can tell you that debugging build tools, Emily, is just it's not fun. It's like it's like drinking medicine, like cough medicine, like kind that you don't like.
Well, I think this is kind of the nature of the work too. I mean, there's always going to be something that doesn't work right, and you have to figure it out. And so, like, I think just sticking with that problem and being able to just kind of dig a hole that hopefully you can get out of is just
possibly a ladder that you're also building at the same time.
Hopefully.
And the funny, and hopefully this doesn't end up becoming a conversation about dependencies and build tools, but it's a worthwhile conversation to have. What I've always found interesting about it is that I come from the days of the PHP. There was a website back in the day called PHP Classes, It might still be around. And basically, this was like the precursor to Composer. So this was a place where people would upload classes to do certain things that you could then add to your code, and you could do things with them. You can see how well, how modernly designed the website is, for example. That's how long this has been around. And this is how we used to, back in the day, sort of share PHP code with folks, is through this PHP classes thing. And then I discovered Composer for PHP. And I started using that to manage dependencies. And I remember the first time I used it, I was just including some simple, I think it was a log stash or logger or something. And it was great. It was, I included this code and I felt like it was magic. And then the minute something updated and it broke and whatever, I started hating these things. So it certainly is a love-hate relationship. When it works, it's amazing.
Yes.
When it doesn't work, it's the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. And I mean, I don't want to use this to scare anyone away from build tools. Build tools, like John just said, are amazing when they work. But there have definitely been days when I came to my desk and said, okay, I am ready to go, raring to go. And then my build tool is like breaking. And now the next thing you know, it's been like 4 hours and I have not written a single piece of code because I am still debugging this one tiny thing and I cannot figure it out. And I want to just curse at the world and the universe. Like, why is this happening to me?
Yep. We've all been there. Okay, so getting back to what we were doing. I've installed the block components package. I've installed WordPress scripts. I have set up the scripts from the documentation. Aruba, is there anything else you can think of that I might have missed? I think this is everything.
Well, I guess you need a source folder now.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I do.
So WP scripts, folks, will work with it assumes that all of your files that you want to compile are living in an SRC in a source folder, and then it will take anything it detects there, either a block folder that has block.json in it or an index.js, and compile that into a build folder in the root of your theme. And the file that it creates there, the JavaScript files it created there, those are the files that you enqueue inside your PHP in order to get it to work correctly.
Theoretically then, and I've never done this in a template, but I guess I need to point this then to the source index.js.
Well, it doesn't really care where you put the main, really, because it doesn't actually use that field.
But I can then start creating that file here, and I can, for example, pop this code in.
That's right.
And then this should
Which
do
is not
things
complete
for us.
code.
Sorry.
So, but yeah, this is not complete code. Right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, 100%. I'm just starting with something. So the generate class names. Let's just take that out. Probably not going to need that.
So I don't think we've covered in the stream what we want to use this for yet. So do you want to do a little recap for everyone watching what we want to use block extensions to do?
Yes, that's maybe not a bad idea. So let's go back to where we were, which was in the footer, and it was the separator, and we want to add from the, what was it, media and something block. Which one was it again? Cannot remember it for the life of me.
Yeah, the media text block. That's
media
right.
text block, that's the one. So let's just add that quickly. Wait. Remove that there. And let's just add it underneath here. So let's go insert after. And it was the media and text. We want to add those buttons to switch it from left to right.
Right. So we're adding two buttons that will allow us to change the direction of the skewing.
Yeah.
Right, of the
so that's where we want to
separator.
start.
Like this.
Okay. So block edit and then generate class names. So I'm just wanting to look through here. Register block extension makes it easier to register these block extensions. Instead of having to manually hook into 4 different hooks, you just need to call register block extension and pass it in a few options. Okay. So it's there. Okay. So it's register block extension. You register it on the block.
Give it a name.
Give it a name, and then you've got attributes.
You add an attribute.
Has background pattern shape. So is the attribute that we need to add specific for the buttons that we want to add?
That's right. So we'll probably add a setting called skew direction.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And then based on whether the skew direction is right or left, you would add a different class essentially to the block, and then be able to style that to change that direction.
Okay. And then we call the edit function, and that would then call the block edit function, which is that one over there. And that'll do what it needs to do. Okay. All right.
And that is where we add the actual buttons that we want to put in the block toolbar.
Got it. Okay. So the register block extension. So it was the core site. I can't remember these things. Let's just see here.
Separator.
Are these things? This is an interesting question. The only way I can get this is if I view the code, eh?
Yes, and I have a tool I'm working on.
Are you?
Do you want to see a preview?
Yes, please. Do you want to share your screen?
Show you. No, I'll send you a link.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be great.
Basically, I come across this all the time, unless you know exactly where you're looking, it's really hard to find the information like, oh, what is the slug of this particular block? I mean, once you know what's going on, it's pretty easy to, deduce it, but you shouldn't have to just deduce it. So I'm going to show you a preview, but this is not quite live yet, but it will be live soon once I have like a second to finish doing it. But I'm putting this in the Google chat, John. So why don't you open that up?
Let's open this up here. Hey!
Okay. Now, if you were to search for the separator,
ooh,
and then you can expand its information.
This is awesome.
Oh, what happened?
I broke it.
Oh, there we go.
There
it is. So now it tells you all this information. So the name is right there, and you can even press copy and grab it.
That's very cool. I can guarantee someone in the chat's going to ask for that, so have that link ready.
It will be. I'm hoping to work on it.
Cool.
Soon to finally release it, but yeah, it's just basically a really nice place where every time the WordPress versions update, it grabs all the information. You can see all their settings. You can see if they're like experimental or if they're pending, if they're new, etc. And it just makes it really easy to find this stuff without having to go there.
Awesome. Are you yeah, there we go. Really been asked in the chat. Do you mind if I pop the link in the chat? Do you want to do it?
I'm just doing it here.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. So out of interest, can I just say this is why I love these live streams, and even if we don't do anything today for the next whatever time, I love learning these things. Are you scanning to build this? Are you scanning like the source code, or is it something that you have to do manually? Yes. You are.
No, yeah, it's scanning. It essentially installs the entire Gutenberg repo and then grabs all the information. This is a live. It's public. Awesome. It's an open source project called wphelpers.dev. So if you were to go click on home at the top there. So this is the development version of the site, but essentially this is wphelpers.dev. It's a project that Brian and I have been working on.
Oh yes, I remember when you launched this. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a new feature coming to this. It's not live, but it has, for example. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we're going to have to just stick wphelpers.dev in the chat as well. And then if anybody wants to see what's currently there, that's what's there. And then you wait for the very cool... now my links are not working. You wait for the very cool feature to arrive. And then why is that not working? Hang on. Helpers.dev. Can't paste for some reason. Did I spell that right? No, I didn't. wphelpers.dev. That's so very cool. That's a very useful feature. That's awesome. But of course, you don't know what you're talking about,
Yeah, I
definitely. Thanks you guys for making this, you and Brian. This is great.
Very cool. Very cool indeed.
I'm trying to this year to be kind of proactive in that way. You know, when I see a pain point or something that I'm struggling with, I'm trying to like create documentation because 100% I'm not the only one. So it is hard sometimes because, you know, like you have to balance like contributing and also like doing other work that you're doing. But I'm trying. The list is way longer than I'll ever have time to do. But then sometimes we like just tweet it out. Maybe someone else will make it, you know, because I don't have time.
That's
But
awesome.
this is something that I use so much, so I decided to make it.
I'm just gonna say there is a GitHub repository for this, hey?
Yes.
Okay. Where do I find
I
that?
should link here, but you
Yes.
can go to github.com/Aruba.
I'm spelling that right. I am. Okay, cool.
And in my repository, yeah, it'll be
There it
for you,
is.
just like
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. I'm going to check that one out as well. Thank you. Okay, so my next question then is the extension name. So this extension that we're going to create now, would it manage all of the changes that we want to add to the separator, or would we have to do a different extension per additional change?
You can manage any change, any settings or extension change for the separator.
So we could call this like separator additions, and then everything could be managed in one place.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to call it sending separator just for now. I think that is probably the most logical name. It's named after the style, so that kind of makes sense to me. And then I'm going to take these two out, and I'm going to take out this class name generator, and then attributes would be
You will need that class name generator.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it in then.
Yeah.
Let's just actually leave that function there then. It's probably going to be props. It doesn't really matter, I guess. Okay. Go away, Copilot. Copilot is doing its own thing. Okay, and then that. And then when it comes to attributes, would it just be something like has position or something like that? Could I make up my own thing? Do I have to specify something specific? Okay.
Nope. The attribute can be called whatever makes the most sense to you, as long as you do it in calories to keep it consistent.
So I guess we can't
use your favorite word.
I was going to say, I guess we can't call it has flippy, can we?
Yeah, you can. You could say like has flippy left, has flippy right.
Right. The attribute itself, that would be the name of the class. But then for the attribute itself, you could literally call it flippiness. If you
Aruba, please be the voice of reason here. What should we call this?
I mean, I was going to... Go ahead, Emily.
I think we should, use flippiness.
I mean, no one's going to see this unless they're in the code. So it doesn't really do a comment, maybe making it helpful.
If it gives you joy, Jonathan, you should do it.
It clearly gives Jonathan joy because he cannot stop laughing.
You know what the problem is? You don't get to have fun when you're developing normally. You have to be very sort of serious and sorry, I can't breathe. And just the idea that we're going to build this very serious block theme with something like has flippiness just really tickles me. Okay, let's think about this logically though. So this attribute, it wouldn't be a true or false, would it?
No. It would have a value.
It would have a value, like left or right, yeah. So it would probably be more something like, you could just call it has flippiness and then left or right.
Or flip direction. Or
ooh, you see, now you're helping me here. Now you're being more serious, which I like.
What? I'm in favor of non-seriousness. My goodness.
I think you said the flip. Sorry, folks. I'm having too much fun with this live stream. Okay, I think has flip direction works. So it'll probably be then a string, I'm guessing.
Correct.
And then we'll default it to right. Would you agree with that one? It's going off to the right.
Emily?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Okay. We'll stick it.
Really,
we'll stick
you
it.
Call it anything you want. It could be left or right. Because it's like, which way do you look?
People
at
shouldn't allow me to call things anything I want. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I call my plants anything I want. So
Yeah, but your plants don't have to get uploaded to some SVN repo somewhere for the world to see.
that's fair. That's
It's an
fair.
Easter egg. It's, you know.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So that does that. Now I guess we need to. So let me just see. A React component that we mounted in editor when the block is selected is recommended to use slots like block controls or inspector controls in here to put settings into the blocks. So can I just return inspector controls and will it just override the current one, or will it add it to the current one?
No, it adds to the current one. So block controls and inspector controls, when you include them, it basically works like a slot.
Interesting.
So it adds anything you add to the existing one. It does not override.
Wow.
The
That's very cool.
Good. Very smart.
So I can just use something like, I'm just going to find some code. I can just literally do something like that.
Correct.
Wow. That's very cool.
And then that will add that to that block toolbar.
That's very cool.
Just remember to import it at the top there too.
Got it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that in for now, just to see what it does. Obviously, it's not the one we're going to use, but I just want to use that just to get an idea. Now the value would probably be props attributes something, right? Probably be has flip direction, or is it just flip direction?
Yes, has flip direction.
Flip direction. Okay. Direction on change would be some kind of on change function, which I will just create for now, and we'll throw this away later once we figured this out. Copilot's pretty good at this stuff. I probably need to get set attributes from somewhere, which would be weird.
Well, if you do this function should be inside the block edit function above the return line, because the prop in block edit you can pull out set attributes. So for anyone watching, in block edit, props is this parameter, and it has a bunch of things in it. It has a function that allows you to update any attribute setting. It allows you to actually grab the attributes that are being passed for this particular block. It probably has a few other things that I'm not remembering right now. You can inspect it, but those are the two that you're going to find yourself using the most when you're creating a block extension, because you need to be able to access what the current attribute setting is and be able to change it based on the user behavior. So those two are available in the props object. Yeah.
One. Okay, and then so the class name is basically going to be used to, let me just go back to
set the class on the block, right? So you'll be like, oh, if the attribute has flip direction is equal to left,
right,
return the class has flip direction left.
Got it. Okay, I just want to see what this does. So now I'm going to need to probably do some npm. Yeah, let's see if I can remember. I'm probably not going to remember. Let me see it quickly. It's going to be npm run dev, I think it is.
Start.
Thank you. npm start. It's npm run start, or just npm start.
Run start.
Is it run start? See, I haven't done this in so long. There we go. npm run start. Okay. So that's either going to work well. Okay, that seems to have worked. So let's have a look here.
Now you are using alignment toolbar, and I'm not expecting it to actually work when you go into the editor.
Same. I'm curious to see what happens. Okay, so it's done that. Do I need to...
Now it's created a build folder, right?
Do I need to include this code in my templates, or in my theme somewhere?
Yes. So the build/index.js should now be enqueued into into the action or the hook block editor assets.
Editor assets, that one. Okay. So that's the script. So then let's do. And is it fine if I just do it after the custom, or should I do it before the custom?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So let's call it sending. What did we call it? Block additions, I guess. Block extensions, I think maybe is a better one. Block extensions, and then it'll be Bold. I noticed there's an asset.php file. Does that need to be included somehow as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. It probably does it. It probably doesn't need the internet.
You don't need any of
Yeah.
this because it has it in the dependency. So this is something that's what John was talking about earlier. When you use WP scripts, it actually generates that index.asset.php file, which tells you all the dependencies that are currently required for this file. Do you want to open that file up? Yeah. So the array is literally right there. And anytime you change anything in that index.js, every time WP scripts is running, it's going to detect, oh, you needed this or you didn't need this. And it will update this, including the version number on it, to make sure the cache gets busted in your block editor. And the latest version of the dependencies is being included. So now in your functions.php file, John, let's create a variable called asset file.
So would that be in the root of this file?
Let's make it above line 11.
Above line 11. There. Okay. Asset file, and then
Awesome. Yeah, and then in here equals include, and then you'll do get template directory dot. There we go. Well,
yeah, this is GitHub
Copilot is
Copilot.
close.
Yeah, GitHub Copilot being silly.
There it is,
there.
and now you can just press tab.
There we go.
So now we've grabbed the asset file. Now we'll make another variable underneath it called dependencies. And there we go. So using asset file, it's now grabbing that array called dependencies in there. And now you can take dependencies and add it in your enqueue file, enqueue script, exactly.
There we go.
You don't need it for
the custom
one on 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for this one. All right.
And then after that, on line 23, you would go comma, and
version.
Then you can also use asset file, the version from there, exactly. So just like Copilot was saying.
I'm going to just get it there. Pop it in there. This is very interesting because this is very, I've never done custom blocks in a theme. I've only ever done it in obviously a plugin. But it's nice to see it's pretty much the same.
And then you just need a true parameter after version to make sure it enqueues in the footer.
That's right. Go away. That one. There we go. Okay. We should probably do that for this one as well, eh?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do,
Absolutely.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a theme version here.
It's interesting that you use get theme file URI. I'm used to using get template directory URI. I don't know what the difference is.
That's what I'm using.
Oh, I see on line 25.
Oh, this was copied from somewhere.
Okay.
This is actually a good point. So this retrieves the template directory for the active theme, and then what does this do? This
like where you're
the
using
URL.
the theme file URI, I usually use get
template directory URI. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is like it searches the style sheet directory before the template directory, so themes which inherit. I think that might be why.
Oh, I see.
I think that might be why.
Instead of you having to remember.
As I say, it wasn't me doing it. I think I copied it from somewhere when we originally did this. So that was probably from. Remember, we did this from the documentation when we originally did the thing. So it was probably from there. I
don't remember that particular part, but yeah.
It could have been Copilot. It definitely wasn't me, because I tend to forget which is the best one to use. So when I'm actually building something, I'll go and look it up and make sure. So that's interesting. Okay, so let me just do this and that. And
so Sendig has an extra N in there.
You're correct. Thank you. That's auto-complete on the spelling saying sending is not a word, but sending is. And let me fix that up. Okay, so that's that. So that should then be that. Okay, let's see what that does. Aruba probably thinks it's probably correct that nothing's going to happen, but it'd be fun to find out. Okay.
Well, it's probably going to error out, but yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so it loaded the editor. That's a good start already.
So can we see your console?
Say again?
Let's open up the console.
The console. Okay.
Now you are in the site editor. So
you know what it probably is? There's already an alignment toolbar there anyway. So it's probably going to just...
Well, how about we, in your index.js, let's add a console log so we can see if the file is even doing its thing.
I mean, we're going to have to do this properly.
So you probably want to add that in the block edit function, probably.
I have to do that properly and just say hello.
Now, typically when I've been working with the site editor, I've had to manually include the site editor in the dependencies to make sure it shows up. So maybe for now, let's test it in the regular, like in a post editor instead of the site editor, because the separator, and then we can add the block editor, the site editor support afterwards.
Okay, cool.
One of the things is when the site editor was being built out, they built it out as a separate package from the block editor so that they have room and freedom to experiment with the user flow and all these other features that they want to add there. But ideally, all of that would be in a single package because, you know, the block editor is the block editor is the block editor. But they are separate packages just so that they could experiment a little bit more freely. But that does mean that when we want to include some sort of setting or changes in the site editor and in the regular block editor, we have to include that manually.
Okay. So I just want to just verify something. There is already an alignment option in the separator, so adding an alignment won't show us anything. So I want to just change this to something else. You wouldn't happen to have the controls in your helper, would you? Or a button. That's a good idea.
No, that's next, but you can add the buttons.
That's a good idea.
But I do have the URL for the storybook.
Do you? Awesome.
Yeah, I go to it so much. My goodness. So Gutenberg. You know, if I could type, that would be helpful.
It's not something we do every day or not.
Here we go. All right, I'll pop this in the chat as well. This is essentially a sort of a documentation, a living reference that lets you see all the components available in the block editor that you can use when you create custom blocks or extend existing blocks.
There we go. So, button. So it's just button.
Press the docs. Then it shows you how you can add it.
Okay, cool. Let's add a button. Unclick. I'm just gonna leave out. Actually, let's make something happen on the unclick. So I had a very interesting experience in my workshop where somebody actually said that they find the ES next way of writing functions to be very difficult. And I said to them, well, there's no reason you can't just write old school functions like this. And the guy was kind of like, wow, okay, that's cool. It's amazing how many people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's nice. The button. So there's the button clicked. Let's say clicked from Sendig. We're probably not going to get finished today, which I'm totally fine with. I just love the fact that we are getting somewhere.
I think we made good progress, though. We added script. We set up the basics block extension. We talked about like different helper tools. It's been a good stream.
Thank you. I always worry about like how much we get through. Then I'm probably going to. Where's the button coming from? WordPress components. Okay. This I didn't actually even know was a thing. Can you believe that?
It's okay. Lots of people don't. It's very hard to find in the documentation, but it is there now because someone, was it Brian? Was it Katie? Kathy?
Know.
I don't know who it was. Someone. We talked about it on Twitter, and someone went and added the link to the documentation so that it would be finally available easily.
Nice. No, this is a super useful reference. I must remember this. This is sorry. I'm getting caught up with things. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So there we go. Button register block extension. No, not. Sorry, I'm being so daft. Button doesn't come from there. Button comes from WordPress components. Import button there. Okay, got it. GitHub Copilot can be useful. All right, so we've got that. We've got the button. All right, so now you were saying about we need to manually add the site editor as a dependency.
Well, right now, let's not worry about that. Let's go look in the regular post editor that you already had open and see what happens.
Okay, cool. I like that idea. Okay, so let's add our separator, and hey, there's a button, and it does something.
Very cool. So that's basically how block extension works. The only part we did not cover yet is how to add the class when you click or do something. But I think we should do that properly with the right.
No, I agree. Things. I agree 100%. So I think if we've got 12 minutes left. How do you feel about trying to get it to show up in the site editor for now? Would that be?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's
do that. So you were saying you have to add that manually as a dependency.
Yes.
How do you do that?
The package is called the dependency is called wp-edit-site. So in functions.php.
Okay. Yeah. Functions.php. Yeah. You have to add it to this array here.
That's right. So in whatever way you prefer to add to an array.
I'm lazy. What did you say it was?
wp-edit-site.
So now I'm curious. Before we continue, why is this not something that you can just switch on somewhere?
I don't know.
Okay. Just hang on a second. I'm going to go and find out, because that sounds to me like something that developers should be able to do. And if they can't, I need to find out why. So now I'm going to switch to work mode quickly. Yeah, awesome. That's great. Thank you. So that's there. Okay. So when we do that, that'll then update the dependencies, and then it'll be available in the site editor.
It should be.
Okay.
Theoretically.
Okay. Let's go and test that out. Appearance, editor. Yes. Interesting. I wonder if I need to.
You know what I wish? I wish that you had a setting to turn off the animations of the site editor. I wish that was a thing that you like for reduce motion or whatever. That setting. Yeah. There we go.
There we go. It worked.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Pretty easy once you know.
Yes.
You have to do that.
So now I want to do some digging here, because this seems like something that shouldn't be. No, for sure. And as I've said before, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is to find these kinds of things and figure out why it needs to be done that way, and then see if we can improve it. Because if we didn't have you, we would have no idea. And we would be like, we might have found the block. I mean, Emily and I managed to find the block extension documentation last week. So we might have been able to fumble our way through, adding the code and hooking it up and all that. But I certainly wouldn't have known that I needed to include the site editor for it to load in the site editor.
Yes.
So that is interesting.
should find that issue. I'll find it for you.
If you
But there's a issue where
could.
Matthias talks about why there's a separate package and the reasoning behind it, even though it adds a little bit of complexity when you're developing. But it allowed a certain level of freedom to be able to experiment. It was really helpful.
And that's the thing. Even if it's not something that we're going to look at necessarily adding, just having some documentation around it would be very, very helpful. So yeah, if you do find that issue, if you could add it to this note that we're doing around the separator, that'll be great. Cool. I think that is a good place to pause and enjoy and bask in our glory. I love the fact that it got a button and you click it and it does things, and I think that's amazing. That's so
now,
cool.
if you had to do that with the core functions, which are great, and we've used them lots, and I use it still in a lot of situations, to do that would have been like at least double the lines of code.
Right. And in terms of the core functions, what we found was this documentation about extending the query loop block. Are there any other docs that you would recommend that show you how extending a block would work using core functions?
Scroll down.
What we found was block variations.
Yes, which is totally different from what we did.
Okay. So how would
do what we did?
How would you do it in the core way? Do you have the doc link handy?
I can probably find it pretty quick. 1 second.
Cool, thank you. Because I'd like to link that up as well, so we can sort of compare the two.
For sure.
In the meantime, I am going to write all of this to the template so that we can commit this code. Activate that. That should have done anything there. I don't think we made any changes, so that's fine. Okay.
There's a lot of tutorials from other people that document this, but there's no one page of documentation that I could link you to that shows you how to do this.
Okay.
So I think the one that I learned from back in the day was from Jeffrey. 1 second.
Okay. So while
I am link you to that one.
Cool. While Aruba's doing that, I'm just adding a git ignore to the project so that I can add the node modules to the git ignore because we don't want to be committing those. So it's the assets. Hang on. We don't need the build either because that'll get built while we're developing. So we don't need the build. Don't need the build folder. So it's asset sending custom was modified. Why was that modified?
Looks right.
I don't think why we modified that. Maybe I modified it. Functions of PHP were modified. The source index was there. Get ignores added. Package lock done. Cool. So let's commit this. Adding separator block extension. Cool. I'll push that afterwards. Let's have a look at this link that you've shared. Okay, all right. Loading the dependencies, block controls, creating the custom control.
So it shows you exactly how you would do it without a build script, in fact.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or like a build tooling.
Right. Okay. I'm going to stick this in our notes and then cover that at some point as well. I'm not going to read through it now because I haven't got all day, but I definitely will after this. But thank you very much for that. And then I'll share this in the chat as well in case anyone
already done.
Oh, yes. Do you want to just take over these streams and I'll just sit and watch?
Haha.
Didn't you know this is actually the plan all along?
Well, you're the one live streaming, so it's easy for me to be in the chat and just like quickly pop things.
Well, you
in
make
there.
you make a wonderful live stream host, so thank you very much. Awesome. Emily, I don't know about you, but my brain is overflowing with knowledge today.
Yeah, this is very exciting.
Cool. Well, I think that's a great place to stop. We've got 5 minutes left of the hour, but yeah, I think that's a cool place to end off. Before we do go, though, I actually had, and I wanted to chat with both of you in the live stream while we did this. I actually had a comment the other day on one of my videos. I don't know if I'm going to find it now. It's not a rude comment or anything, so I don't mind going into wherever my comments are. Somebody asked. Yeah. Somebody asked, would we? No, this doesn't show.
Did you respond to it?
I did. There we go. Somebody asked, is it possible to add the description of the video and also the links to your profiles, the Git repo, and your guest handles to follow them? It's nice to get to know you folks, guys, better and follow your work. Do either of you mind if we share your social media profiles in the streams as I submit them to YouTube?
Go for it.
Okay, awesome. I didn't want to just go ahead and just, share your information without checking. The irony is we're all on Twitter anyway, and we're all kind of talking to each other, so it is all there, but I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, we have had some cool feedback. Somebody 3 days ago said, appreciate the streams, keep up the good work.
That's awesome.
Somebody else said, you're doing great, keep it up, you really need promotion, basically. So that was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting some good love and some good feedback, so that's really nice. I haven't had any negative comments. So it sounds like what we're doing is working for folks. So thank you all for joining me and making this amazing and giving me lots of things to laugh about.
So,
cool.
M. Wood Patrick, question for you, John, in the chat.
Question for me in the chat. What is the link to the development notes? So the development notes is it's a P2 that I've registered. I don't know if it's public, to be honest, but this is the link. I don't mind making it public. I don't think there's anything in there that we wouldn't make public. But most of the
notes in the read.
Say again.
You could also add these notes to the README.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So what I was thinking now is to actually take a lot of these links that we've got and maybe add them to the issues in the repo. The repo itself is in my GitHub account, so it's github.com/Jonathan Bossinger. It's just called Sendig. So there it is there. Hang on, there we go. And I'm going to try and copy and paste now, and I can't seem to. There we go, copy paste. There we go. So I will make sure that those links from the notes get added to the issues here. Maybe as Aruba suggested, maybe we'll add them to the README somewhere or somehow. But yeah, we'll definitely get them out. What I might even start doing, maybe this would be a better idea, is to actually add them to the descriptions of the YouTube videos, so that when on those days where we've discussed stuff, we actually include those links. So I'll try and remember to do that this time around. Awesome. Cool. Anything, Emily and Aruba, anything you want to say before we go?
I think this was our most productive stream yet.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens when you're here, Aruba?
It's always lovely seeing your lovely faces right in the morning as I wake up. I love it. On Tuesdays.
Cool.
Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Last time I checked. Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining me, and thank you everybody in the chat and in the stream who's here today. We really do appreciate your feedback, and I will do my best to remember to add all the links up so that they're in the YouTube videos. Thank you to Emily for joining us. Thank you to Aruba for your knowledge, and we will see you all again next week. Same time, same place. Bye.